Hi everybody, I've got a keynote coming up in Budapest. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how I prepare, the process, including the stationery that I use. As you can see, it's all here. And along the way, I'll share a few snippets from my book, Zero to Keynote.
Don't wanna be a one-man woman. Got me stranded like a boat in the sand. Just the thought of not spreading my wings drives me crazy.
So the first thing you need for any talk is a solid idea. And yes, your idea is worth sharing. Many people think that why would anyone want to listen to me? But nobody's got your experience, your lens, your perspective, your tone of voice, your delivery style. But what matters though is turning that idea into something worth sharing. So the long game, and I recommend this in the book, is to keep a hopper of ideas, things that inspire you, observations, life experiences, anything that interests you, capture it and then mash it all together. You'd be amazed at how many great ideas can come from that process alone. But here are another few examples of where ideas can come from. One way I like to do is to grab a notepad like this A4 yellow legal pad. These are my go-to for ideation and creation ideas, and to write down a problem statement, something that's vexing you, a challenge, an opportunity, a problem. Write it out, pose yourself a question, and then give yourself some space and time. So whilst you're off cooking tea, having a shower, going for a run, whatever it is, those clever, creative folk in the back of your mind, i.e. your subconscious brain, is busy working through these problems, and it'll give you an aha moment, usually when you don't have a notepad and pen around to capture it. And that is how the subconscious brain works. You pose it a problem, you leave it alone, you give it some space and some time, and then you get a creative solution. Another idea is to just pick random words or photos with no context, so no narrative, no description, just a photo, and then mash those together or come up with a problem and see how that photo represents it. And the power of this is that you have to make your own story about the photo, or you have to combine the random words to create something unique. Of course, you could look into your industry, your hobby, your creative pursuit, your trends in your business world. What are people doing that's interesting? What's your take on it? What are you doing that's different to everybody else? You could look at mistakes and failures. You could take something negative that happened and then see how that reflected in a positive way. They make great talks. So of course, in the book, I go into more detail, and in fact, that chapter is free. It's free as a PDF download if you go to zerotokeynote.com about how to come up with ideas. So I always use pen and paper for this. It's always an A4 legal pad. It's always with a cool pen like this Sailor pen that I've got here. This is a wonderful new addition to my stationery collection. I think it was about £12, and it writes wonderful. It's a calligraphy pen technically, but it's got loads of different ways to hold it. You get different sort of amount of ink and flow, and it's a wonderful pen actually. So pop that statement in the middle, ideate a few ideas around it, and then just explore it, mind map it, do some sort of Cornell note taking where you carve off the side and you jot down some ideas and some reflection points. Just freeform. Getting away from a screen, exploring on pen and paper is by far and away one of the best ways to come up with a great idea. But don't forget that hopper of ideas, collect stuff, and then mash it together liberally and see what comes out. So for this particular talk in Budapest, I'm talking about value. So as we go through, I'll show you how I prepare for a keynote. Now this same process I would do if I was doing a track session, if I was doing a community event, if I was doing a talk at my work, I would do the same process. So once I've got an idea, I need to break it apart and turn it into a talk to get that thread. So I'm not confusing the audience. This step is all about clarity. The clearer I am about what I want to talk about, then the more that's going to resonate with the audience. I'm not going to confuse them. The goal is always to have that thread, that idea, something worth talking about, a point of view. So for this, I always use index cards. Classic, old school index cards. Each index card is essentially a part of that talk, a topic. Don't think that these are slides. Slides always come last, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But for me, we break this apart. So for now, index cards, Sharpie, I write basically all of the ideas that I want to talk about, all of the sections all of the topics. I'm taking that bigger idea and I'm breaking it into tangible pieces so I can see it as a whole. So once I've done that, I lay them all out in a sort of X Factor style and move them all around till I get something that feels good and it feels like there's a thread and it's clear. We're always after clarity. Now what I always do is I number each of the cards in that particular order that I've settled on, is so that if I drop the pile on the floor, I know the order in which it's gone. Now once I've numbered them, and I always use the main flow, and I always use white index cards for that with a black Sharpie on it. There'll be ideas, references, quotes, extra detail within each of those sections, and that's why I use coloured index cards for that, so that I can see that the white ones are the thread and the main talk, and the coloured ones are the detail that I want to include. Now I do this process way before I've even touched PowerPoint or Keynote or whatever your tool of choice is for presenting. If you want to visually see how your talk is going to flow, that's the aim. We're going to get clarity. We want to see the thread, the point of view, the perspective. Now here's the rule, slides come last, because what a lot of presenters do is they get straight into PowerPoint and they design some beautiful looking slides, and then the slides can sometimes constrain the talk, or they get wedded so much to a beautiful slide that they've created that the talk then becomes the slideshow. The slides should always support the talk, and that is why I recommend creating them at the end. So once there's a solid structure and I'm happy with the talk, then I jump into digital tools. I use digital tools for the efficiency of being able to type out the entire talk really quickly. Now for this, I use a tool called Lattice, and what that allows you to do is have separate sections representing each of the index cards. So in the tool, I'm able to drag them around, move them if they don't flow, and each one is a contained section. Now here's the trick. Try and write your talk as you speak. Use the same language, the same flow, the same terminologies that you would do if you were talking to somebody else. Imagine somebody stood in front of you and you're talking to them. Try and write it like that. All too often we write in corporate speak, we use structures and sentences that just don't seem to sound human. It's a very difficult skill, but once you get really good at it, it'll save you some time. So when I'm typing this out digitally, I want to aim for broadly the right amount of words for the time that I have. Now, on average, we might speak between about 120 and 150 words a minute. So if I'm doing a 30-minute talk, I'm aiming for about 3,900 to 4,000 words. Now, bear in mind, some people speak quicker than others. I'd encourage you to try and slow down. And of course, when we're nervous, we tend to speak a lot quicker than when we're not nervous. But don't try and compensate for that by having more words. Instead, let's learn how to control our nerves. And in the book, I cover that. But this process is also a way to reduce nerves on the day, because the more time you've spent practicing your talk, writing it out, getting a clear structure, and knowing what it is you want to say when you hit the stage, the less you can worry about whether you're going to fluff your lines, forget your part, you don't know your words. That's going to add a huge amount of nerves to you. So a good keynote, a good presentation, most of the work is actually done before you hit the stage. Now, of course, no amount of being able to write like you speak will make the talk sound like you when you're talking. So that's why we do what's called a read around. So when you're reading it, you'll spot sentences that don't make sense or phrases and words that you would never use if you were talking to somebody. And that's the point. You want to fine tune this. So for this, what I do is I usually print the entire talk out. Now, of course, you might want to save paper and ink and use a digital tool like a tablet or on your computer. But for me, getting away from the screens, grabbing a highlighter, grabbing a pen or a pencil, reading through your script and highlighting and commenting on all the things that you want to change. And then this is a loop. We jump back into our digital tool to make those changes, and then we might repeat this a few times. But what we're after is something that feels, sounds, and flows as though we're going to talk to somebody about it. Now it's time to commit this to memory. This is a process that I've used and I recommend in the book, is to write the entire talk out longhand. Now we've typed it, we've printed it, we've read it around, we've timed it hopefully a few times to make sure that we're in the ballpark. Now we're committing this to memory. Now for me, this is an A4 yellow legal pad. Again, these are my go-to for all this kind of stuff. And I basically write it out longhand. I always use a pencil and I use this Penac Protti 0.5 pencil. Wonderful pencil. Big kudos thanks to Penac for sending me this pencil. They sent me a 0.7 as well, but the 0.5 is my favorite for sure. Now they sent me this because many of you may know that I also co-host a podcast called Stationery Freaks, hence stationery's never far away from any of my processes. It's so easy to write with, it's got the perfect weight, it just flows. It's a wonderful mechanical pencil. So I write all of my talks out longhand and I do this a few times. The goal of this is to never forget your talk. It's not to remember it. It's so it's deeply ingrained in your brain so you never forget it. There's a few reasons for this. One, obviously, controlling the nerves. Number two, you're able to then pivot. So if you have a technical failure, you have some unruly audience members, or there's an anecdote that you want to share with the audience, you can pivot off, you can dovetail off, and then you can come back to your talk because you know it. Also, if you're a little bit ahead, you can slow down, tell a story, have a few more pauses. If you're a little bit behind, you can know where in your presentation you can speed up or you can skip a section. That's the goal of this. Now, the reason that we do this, and in the book I go into some huge detail on this, is because the audience are giving up their money, their time, their energy, and their attention to listen to you talk. So it pays to learn it, to rehearse it, to put in the effort before the talk so you don't squander that money, time, energy, and attention. And almost all of the success that I've seen and other people when they've been through the workshops is because they do the preparation beforehand. So the talk is seamless, it's well rehearsed, it's practiced, it's professional, and it's giving the audience value. It's not wasting their time. Now I do the slides. So remember what I said, the slides accompany the talk. They reinforce it, they support it. They are not a replacement for the talk. So don't include loads of words on the slides so people are reading those rather than listening to you. So for me, this is the part where I design beautiful looking slides that reinforce the points I'm trying to make. Maybe there's a quote on there from what I'm saying so that people can share it on social or write it down or take a picture of it. Once I've done the slides, it's time for rehearsal. Yes, I do rehearse them and I recommend you do the same. Put yourself into that standing position as though you're on stage. Get your PowerPoints up or your keynotes or whatever tool you're using, or maybe you're not even using slides. That's pretty awesome. And then go through the talk. Practice how you're going to say things. Practice your pace. Practice those pauses. Practice repeating the bits where you really want people to remember those salient points so that on the day, when you hit the stage, you're giving the audience a superb talk. It's rehearsed, it's got a point of view, it's got a thread, it's well structured, and you're not going to forget it. And trust me, I've been doing this for 20 years now, speaking on stage, doing keynotes, workshops, you name it. I've been doing all this stuff and I still get very, very nervous. But I think those nerves are important. It shows that I care about what I'm about to do. But if you see me before a talk, I'm super nervous. Literally like 10 minutes before, I'm just a bundle of nerves. But as soon as I hit the stage, this practice, this process, it kicks in and I deliver, hopefully, really good talks. And that's because I do the work beforehand. I'm not winging it with confidence. I'm putting my focus on the audience and making sure that the audience get the talk that they deserve. And through this process, these analog tools, these pens, these notebooks, these index cards, they're never far away. They give me space to think, a chance to get away from computers. There's no distractions. I'm in the moment. I'm using them for ideation, creation, review. And that is what goes into preparing for a very effective presentation. Almost all of that is way before you even hit the stage. Now, of course, if you would like any more help with submitting through the conference process, structuring a talk, the communication science, dealing with nerves, logistics, the presentation itself, dealing with questions, surviving a conference and enjoying it at the same time as presenting at it, then please do check out the Zero to Keynote book, available in the UK only as this beautiful printed self-published, self-designed book, but available globally as a PDF download. You can find that at zerotokeynote.com. If you're interested in stationery, then please do check out the podcast that I co-host with my friend Helen called Stationery Freaks. You'll find that stationeryfreaks.com. And with that, good luck if you are going to be presenting at a conference or at work or a community event. It's a wonderful, wonderful skill to develop. And maybe I'll do a video from Budapest as well, behind the scenes, something like that. Who knows? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
Oh, I can sing